This is something that I do. We're going to talk about here today because it's a slow march to tyranny. It's a slow march into an authoritarian regime. And I defended Gina Carano when she made this comparison on Instagram because there's stupid people who just go, "You're just like Hitler." Okay, no, that's silly. But when Gina Carano said, "How did it start?" It started by neighbors turning on neighbors. It started not just with a regime, but by convincing neighbors to turn on each other and to other groups of people. I thought that was a thoughtful, legitimate comparison because we had people turning folks into the government for not wearing a mask. Or now you see in Canada for not honoring the vaccine, the mRNA injection mandate. But how have we gotten here? I think sometimes it's important to sort of look at an inflection point, I should say. And I have been spending a lot of time thinking about this. And by the way, you guys can comment below before you watch this segment where you think is starting. How did we end up with quarantine camps and freezing bank accounts, right? And passports, vaccine passports. How do we end up here? What was the tipping point? Because there were a lot of steps. And I do think there's one. I think the most important one, and this is where there's a comparison that I'm going to make. It's shocking once I started doing more research as to how it parallels this, is telling people, it started with this: trust the science. That's how it started. Now, what do I mean? But there's more to that phrase. People just say trust the science. Well, no, that sounds good, right? Just like pro-choice. That sounds good. Sounds benign. Yeah, we all trust science. Why would we not trust science? The scientific process. But when you equate trusting the science with exclusively trusting and being coerced into trusting the government mandated science, that's when the problem starts. And then you include into that, the idea, and we'll go through all of this, eliminating voices of scientific dissent, no matter how legitimate they may be. Then you get to the point where you can go through the phase of othering people. And once you've divided people, once you've created a second class of citizenry, well, then you're pretty much free to do whatever you want to them, including freezing their bank accounts and jailing them indefinitely. So this started with trusting the science and the experts. Let me just show you in case you've forgotten. I believe this is the inflection point that led us to what we see in Canada and see in Australia and would absolutely see in the United States if former Vice President Biden had his way. We just have checks and balances.
We follow the science.
Why are adults believing people on the internet instead of science and experts?
I have a wild idea. Just hear me out.
Follow the science.
Science is evolving.
What if we all just did
science?
This is so silly that we had people who are anti-science.
Science is moving and we are following the science.
And experts.
On the other hand, science.
And not trying to silence the voice of science.
And experts.
We all need to follow science to protect our loved ones.
We need to listen to scientists.
And experts.
Science and the truth.
We should be letting public health lead.
You're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science.
I think science.
Because you've got to be guided by the science and the current data. Attacks on me, quite frankly, are attacks on science. It's preposterous, Chuck. Totally preposterous.
You notice he hasn't really crawled out of his hole as much lately?
Thank God. I wonder if it's because he was so wrong about stuff.
Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe he got the Omicron, and he's one of the 0.0000 deaths.
Oh, that'd be so sad.
I'm joking, not 0 deaths. I just mean statistically very little.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.